Commander, tell me about your sexual organs.
Hello there, Editing Maggie popping in just before we get started here to give you a content warning that there will be discussions of homophobia, transphobia, and conversion therapy. But other than that, I hope that you enjoy the episode. Hello everyone, welcome back to Fully Functional TNG Podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are veteran Trekkies, and Dory is a rookie Trekkie, and we are taking her on her first journey through Star Trek The Next Generation. Today we're discussing the Season 5 episode, The Outcast. Original air date is March 14th, 1992. And as always, we'll take it to Dory for the recap.
Okay, so the Enterprise has been contacted by an androgynous race called the Janai, right? That's how you pronounce it?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. To investigate the mysterious disappearance of one of their shuttles. So they go to the coordinates from like the last time they saw the shuttle and like, meh, nothing's there. They also, sorry to the Janai, but they have some really terrible haircuts.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're wearing, pardon me, like pajamas / loungewear.
Yeah.
The
like
look
these,
is unfortunate.
Yeah, they're these very horrible, loose velvet jumpsuits.
Look, TNG has some odd choices across the series for wardrobe. Let's just leave it at that.
Apparently, androgynous means bowl cuts and velvet jumpsuits in neutrals.
Yes.
With no personality.
Those neutrals. Never know where they stand.
Okay, so then Data detects unusual reading. Neutrino emissions with no visible source. No explanation. Okay, so they launch a probe. The probe is no longer transmitting. And then I wrote, Picard stood up, so we know it's serious. So they're like, oh, we may have found the first instance of null space. This is an anomaly, which until now had only been theoretical. So Riker and Janai specialists, what did I write? Work to finalize, formalize or finalize, truly, it's anyone's guess with my writing, hypothesis. So, okay.
Oh, formalize the hypothesis.
Formalize.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the sort of like main guest character of the show, of this episode, I did not know their name until a good far way into this episode. Mm-hmm. So when they said stuff, I just left it blank for who said it. Or I just wrote representative.
I hate it because they reused the name in one of the films for the villain. And I'm just like, oh, right, it's Soren. Right, this Soren.
So this character's name is Soren, but we don't know that until like way into the episode. And I kept thinking like I missed it. No, I didn't fucking miss it. They just don't say it till halfway through the episode. TNG needs to make more of an effort to introduce the characters at the beginning, because otherwise, how am I gonna know who anybody is?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Especially they had the perfect opportunity to, like, when Riker has trouble with, like, not knowing what pronouns to use. They could have said their name.
Yeah, there's a million different times, and I'm just like, you want me to like this character? I need to know their fucking name. I need to know who I'm supposed to be rooting for.
Really? I would think that you'd be used to that sort of thing now, considering like how awful sound is in movies nowadays. That like you often don't know who the hell a character is because you can't hear anything.
Well, to be fair, I haven't watched a movie in theaters since March 2020, and so if I watch a movie now, it's got captioning.
That's
so
fair.
Here's the,
I know who everybody's name.
I think that's why people are like way more into subtitles now.
Well,
Although
I grew up with subtitles.
Yeah, the thing
on
is
everything,
that
'cause I grew up with closed captioning, but
yeah, the thing is that the oh my god, my brain just had a meltdown. The thing is that in the theaters, the sound is actually good because that's how the movie is mixed.
Yes.
It's mixed for a theater sound system. But when they release it like on streaming or back in the day on home video and DVDs and stuff like that, they don't remix the movie.
Well,
because
okay. They do remix the movie, but they remix it for like a home theater system, not for like laptop speakers or something.
Yeah, basically that's the thing. Is essentially they just don't mix the movie for our crappy speakers. So everything is just fucking out of whack. The dialogue is super quiet. Music and explosions and shit are super loud because they're on like a different. They're on different channels and they're meant to be heard a different way and shit. So yeah. Which you'd think that more and more, like less and less people are seeing movies in theaters. So it's like, maybe mix the movie in the format it's going to be consumed in. Anyway, sorry I went off on a thing there.
No. Okay, so now that I know the name of the person who says this quote, I can say, Soren says, during the okay, we're about to get into a lot of stuff. Okay, so during the creation of a star system, when clouds of interstellar dust and gas, what the fuck did I write? Coalesce? I don't know. I don't even know this.
Coalesce.
Coalesce? Okay.
That means like come together.
Right now,
I
over
cannot.
me.
It looks like I didn't even include an S. An I. Sorry. It looks like I put an I instead of an L. So I was like, what is coiescesis? Okay, anyways. Coalesce turbulent regions of magnetic and gravitational fields may develop. If certain conditions occur, these fields can condense into abnormal pockets of space. And then Riker says, we think your system contains one of these null pockets. If we're right, the pocket would absorb electromagnetic energy from anything that entered it, like the shuttlecraft/probe. So, bummer.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think what they're describing is a black hole, basically. That's what it sounds like to me.
It does kind of sound like that, except they go out of their way to say it's not a black hole. Well, sorry, they don't go out of their way to say it, but they are describing something that is not a black hole, which is very weird.
Yeah.
Lots of, like, black hole-esque stuff.
Yeah.
This time.
But a lot of the things they describe are things that, like, black holes do.
So they also note that the outside the pocket, all the energy is bent around it, making it naturally cloaked, and that's why they cannot see it or the sensors cannot read it. So the shuttle that's the Janai shuttle, it could be able to sustain life for another 10 days. But Riker's like, oh, or we could like send their shuttle, but its energy would also be absorbed. What the fuck am I writing? Oh, so now I wrote Rep because I didn't know Soren's name. So now I know. Soren would like to pilot the shuttle, like the Enterprise shuttle, but Riker's like, you don't know how to use the shuttle. And Soren's like, oh, I'm a good pilot. Also, I don't want anyone to risk their lives going after our crew. And Riker's like, how about we team up? And so Okay. Oh, okay. I was like, what is this? Okay, so they go look at the shuttle, and the shuttle usually doesn't have armament on it, but currently it has 2 Type 4 phaser emitters, which they will use to chart the null space. Geordi wants to know the size of the pocket. He thinks the rate of energy absorption is linked to its size. They can shoot out a series of photon pulses into the pocket and chart where each one disappears. They should get a fairly complete outline, blah blah blah, whatever. Anyways, so Soren then says that their parents were pilots and they went to flight school as soon as they were able to, and is familiar with like everything on the shuttle. So surprise, Riker. Then Riker okay, I'm just gonna read this line assuming I can read my writing. So Riker's... Oh, no, that's not Riker. God, I wrote Rep so many times I thought I wrote Riker. I'm getting confused. Okay. Oh, okay. I remember the context of this. Riker's like, oh, you're like a flight instructor. He must have been good or whatever. And so then Soren goes, he, Commander, there's no he's or she's in a species without gender. And then Riker says, okay, for 2 days, I've been trying to construct sentences without personal pronouns. Now I give up. What should I use? It? To us, that's rude. And I'm like, Riker, say they! It's not that hard.
This is...
But I do give him credit.
It's
I do
90s.
give him credit. But I do give him credit for, number one, it's the 90s, but also he's doing better than what a lot of people now do.
Yeah, he is trying to understand.
He is trying, yes. And he doesn't have any kind of, like, you know, malintent over any of this.
This is also really, very Americentric.
Wants to be respectful.
Because like this is not something that is a problem in some languages, even on Earth. So yeah.
Also, there are some people who purposely do not use any pronouns.
Yep.
Which is, it's pretty rare as far as I know. But yeah, you basically like, and if you're not like saying he, she, they, or whatever, you just say their name again instead of a pronoun.
Oh, that's
basically
fair. Okay.
Yeah. That's how you do it.
So then Soren tells Riker, we use a pronoun that is neutral. I don't think there is really a translation. I'm like, I feel like you...
There is, just not in English.
I feel like there could be.
Yeah.
But
also, you could just say the Janai word. Unless it's like one of those bullshit, like, cannot be pronounced by the human tongue kind of deals. Which they don't even say that.
No, they don't.
Yeah. So then Riker says, well, then I'll just have to muddle through it. So forgive me if the stray he or she slips by, okay? Then they go to 10 forward. And Riker... They're having split pea soup, in which Riker makes sure to mention that it is Kyle.
Yeah.
It's Kyle's recipe that he programmed into the replicator.
Which why honestly, would he do that? He said his dad was never around and didn't do anything for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that his dad made it. Like, pea soup is not like a 2-second deal. My mom, like, I say used to, but it's just I haven't had her pea soup in a long time. But, like, it's an ordeal. It's work. It's great. I love split pea soup. But I don't. There's some stuff that Riker says in this episode that I'm like, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Riker's like, oh, it's very healthy. Helps to keep you warm on cold Alaskan nights. Every time he mentions Alaska, I am shaken to my very core because I forget he's from Alaska every single episode until he mentions it.
Sweet old Alaskan boy.
Because I don't believe he's from Alaska. I refuse to believe he's from Alaska. There's literally nothing wrong with Alaska, but I don't believe that Riker's from Alaska. So then Soren says, we prefer to stay warm by sleeping with a friend? Yeah, with a friend. And then Riker's face was just incredible. Riker's got a lot of good, like, reaction faces in this episode. So, so Riker is still trying to, like, wrap his head around the like gender neutral, non-binary group that, the Janai. And Soren's like, yeah, I feel the same way about humans. And then she's like, they're like, what's the difference? Like, what's the deal? The difference with men and women. And Riker goes about the weirdest fucking way to describe, like, this was a choice, and it was the wrong one.
Yeah.
So Riker goes, snips and snails and puppy dog tails. And then Soren goes, you have a dog's tail?
Yeah.
And Riker goes, it's an old nursery rhyme.
He should have just said yes. Yes, we do.
Riker says, it's an old nursery rhyme. Girls are made from sugar and spice, and boys are made from snips and snails. And Soren goes, that makes it sound better to be female. And so Riker says, it's an old-fashioned way of looking at the sexes. Not to say there's no real difference between them physically. Men are bigger, stronger in the upper body. We have different sexual organs. Men can't bear young. But also a weird way to describe that. Men can't bear young.
Yeah.
And then Soren says, what about feelings or emotional attachment? Are they different? And Riker says, most people think so, but that's the kind of question it would take a lifetime to answer. Yeah. So then Soren's asking questions like, okay, so like, oh no, sorry. Riker is asking questions like, okay, so if you don't have gender, then like when you dance, who leads? I'm like, yeah, really, really thinking of the big questions, Riker, the important shit in life. And so Soren is like, whoever's taller. I'm like, that's fair.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Sure, yeah. And then Riker assumes there's less fighting because there's no gender. And Soren's like, oh no, we fucking love to fight. Like, oh boy.
Mm-hmm. Really?
So,
they sure don't fucking sound like it. They sound like Vulcans most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then Soren asks Riker what kind of woman he finds attractive. And I just wrote breathing.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
He will flirt with anyone. I love it. Okay, so then Riker says, I like
big butts and I cannot
one.
lie.
Oh no, I think I wrote, I like one who's intelligent and sure of herself, who I can talk with and get something back. But the most important thing of all, she has to laugh at my jokes. I mean, that's fair, I guess.
That is actually, a very kind of like stereotypical man thing.
Yeah, it's funny though. I actually read something, or I saw TikTok. Listen, it's interchangeable at this point. Yeah. Reading TikTok.
When you don't want to say your source is TikTok. I was reading this article.
No, I don't mind. I mean, I don't remember where I get stuff. I don't care. People know I watch TikTok. I love TikTok. I'm not ashamed of it. I just don't remember if I heard it on TikTok or if I read it in an article.
Yeah.
So I'm giving credit to both.
What if you read it in an article that was featured in a TikTok video?
Honestly, that could be very plausible. Or a TikTok that was in an article.
Yep, there we go.
So it was like when women say that they want a sense of humor, they want someone they can like laugh with. And when a man says he wants a woman with a sense of humor, he wants someone who will think he's funny and will laugh at his jokes. He's not looking for her to be funny. So I found that was interesting. I mean, this is not like, end all be all, but like this is sort of what people have sort of come to the conclusion.
Yeah.
Ish.
It's
an opinion. It's someone's opinion. It's not mine, but I can definitely I don't disagree with it.
It is unfortunate that a lot of guys seem to resent it when a woman is funnier than them. They do not like it when a woman's funnier than them. Yes.
It's I guess it's like a power / attention thing.
Yeah.
'Cause like, I mean, I'm not an extrovert by any means, but when I'm sort of like, I can go on kind of a roll and start like kind of not hamming it up, but like start doing like stupid bits and stuff.
Yeah.
And I know it can annoy. I can tell the difference between like, there's like, you can sort of like tell the difference of like someone who's like pissed off
Oh, yeah.
When, like, I mean, I don't think I do this as, well, no, I do go on a lot now, but I noticed a lot, like, about this when I was younger. If I'd go to, like, parties and, like, if I was getting a lot of laughs, if it was, like, something stupid, and there'd be, like, some guys who would, like, try to make a joke after me, and I'd, like, not roast, but, like, you know, you can piggyback off another joke.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Like,
then yours is funnier.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then yours is funnier, and then they get mad.
Yeah. I think there's, like, this is, like, I don't know the people you're talking about or whatever, so this is not referring to them, but I think there's some guys who just, that's the only thing they have going for them, is that that they're funny, or they think they're funny. So it, like, it's threatening when someone's funnier than them. Because, like, you are one of the funniest fucking people I know.
Oh, thank you.
Now kiss.
Yeah, that's something I always find fascinating, is that people want to be funny so badly, and they try so hard to, like, make these jokes, and I, like, you know, you try to be nice, but, like, sometimes, like, you can't fake a laugh.
Yeah.
So, like, it's really, like, uncomfortable and painful. But here's the thing, though. Like, it's not, okay, in my opinion, I'm not being mean.
Yeah.
But listen, you think you're being funny, but you're not being funny. It's making everyone uncomfortable. I will piggyback on that and say something that will,
that's,
like,
actually funny.
Yeah. And then
it's okay.
I think
you can say Jeff.
No, not Jeff. You guys are very funny. I don't
Get out.
If we're ever piggybacking, we're piggybacking on each other.
Oh yeah, I'm just making a joke.
But, like, yeah, it's oh boy. Okay, I'm trying to figure out where I left. Oh, Riker was, he wants someone to laugh at his jokes. And, okay, Soren's like, oh, so all men like that? Like that kind of woman you're looking for? And it's like, nope. Okay, and then, so then his other character, I think their name is Krite?
Yes, it is
Crit?
Yeah.
Krite is correct.
So they come in to 10 forward and kind of interrupt the pea soup chat. And Riker and Soren are the least subtle human beings in this scene. They are, like, so, they appear so, like, they're very caught. Like, they haven't really done anything wrong. They're just chatting. But, like, holy shit, do they seem like they've been caught in something, and they appear very guilty even though they didn't do anything wrong. Anyways, so now Riker and Soren, they're out charting the area. They're in the ship. And Soren then very randomly goes, Commander, tell me about your sexual organs. And Riker's eyeballs bulge out of his head.
Yeah.
And Soren is wants to know about the mating process. And yeah. So because theirs is interesting. So Soren explains basically that the fetuses are incubated in fibrous husks, which the parents inseminate, and it's, like, less risky, less painful. But Riker's like, less enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like, fair.
He's not wrong.
No. So apparently the Janai have agreed. No. Oh, no. It says a good, not agreed. I should put on my glasses. I can't fucking read. They also have a good time. The husk is the last step, which, like, you know, throwing the word husk in there is definitely gonna rev someone's engines.
Yeah, something about the word husk is just not sexy at all.
Yeah.
It's not. It's really, it just sounds very gross. It's, yeah. So, okay, so Riker is now picking up neutrino emissions from within null space, possibly coming from the shuttle. Oh, and then, like, I wonder if a human and Janai would be sexually compatible. And it's like, folks, this is, like, kind of not the time.
Yeah.
But, like, It's fine, I guess. Whatever. So apparently the Janai used to have two sexes, but evolved into a higher form. They were taught that gender is primitive. So then Riker says, but sometimes there's a lot to be said for an experience that's primitive. Thanks, Riker.
Yeah.
Get it? Get it? An
Yep.
experience is primitive?
Okay. So then, like, part of the shuttle gets, like, zapped or whatever by blue energy. They lose an engine. Soren is, like, down. They need to go to sick bay. So Soren has a minor concussion, but will be fine. Soren then asks Dr. C what it's like to be female, because apparently to be female, the requirements are longer hair and elaborate hairstyles. Color on mouth, eyes, cheeks, and nails. No color for men. Like, this is just hair and makeup. That's the most superficial.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's what she sees.
Yeah,
but Dr. C doesn't
Dr.
really...
C doesn't change. She doesn't say much past that.
Yeah, she doesn't, like, do a good job explaining, like, oh, this is just, like, kind of a, like...
That's just what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's
that's a good
more to
point.
it. Yeah.
So then Dr. C... they like to pretend they're... Oh, okay. When she's like, what? I don't remember. They were talking about something of, like, they have to... Oh, they don't wear color, so, like, do they do this for men? Or, like, do they do stuff for women? I don't remember.
She's like, so it's the woman's responsibility to attract a man. And then Dr. C's like,
yeah.
no, they do stuff, they just do it differently. But they like to
Yeah.
pretend that they're not doing anything to attract a woman.
Yeah. So, yeah, Dr. C says they like to pretend they're not doing anything to attract a woman, even when it's the most important thing on their minds. Like, and then so Soren's like, who's superior? And Dr. C's like, oh, in the past, women were seen as weak and inferior, but that's no longer the case. And I bit my tongue off.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I didn't. But I was like, oh, Dr. C, we know that's not true.
Yeah.
We know there's still sexism in your year of...
I
don't know
mean,
what
Worf
year
is
they're in.
literally sexist in this episode.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, they do that on purpose, right?
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Also, like, when we get to that, like, it's weird for Worf to be the sexist one, because, like, Klingon culture keeps going back and forth about whether women are, like, seen as equal and capable warriors, or that they're, like, misogynistic.
Yeah, because this... Okay, I guess we'll talk about when we get to it, but yeah, it got me frustrated. Okay, so meep. Okay, so now it's this part. So now they're Soren's like, okay, I'm good to go. Bye. So now Dr. C, Troy, Data, and Worf are playing poker, and Troy's like, well, we're gonna play Federation Day, whatever version, and it was founded. Federation was founded in 2161, so 2s, 6s, and aces are wild. And then is like, do I need to, like, learn poker? Because I don't understand what any of that means, but...
Wild means that it's this card can count for anything. So if you have a 6 in your hand, it might as well be an ace. Or if you have, like, 3 other cards and then a wild card, then... Or sorry, three cards that are the same and then a wild card, then you essentially have 4 of the same card.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then Worf's response is, that is a woman's game. And Troy says, oh, why is that? And Worf says, all those wild cards, they support a weak hand. A man's game has no wild cards. And then Dr. C says, let me get this straight. You're saying it's a woman's game because women are weak and need more help? And then Worf goes, yes. And I wrote, Jesus fucking Christ, Worf.
Yeah.
And I was like, Dr. C was like, really thought this was in the past? So Worf says that the Janai... Okay, Worf says the Janai bothers him because they are all alike, no gender. Troy's like, yeah, I'm sure we seem just as strange to them. And then Dr. C coming in with the hot goss. Mm-hmm. And she's like, Soren is attracted to Riker. I'm like, who isn't?
Yeah.
And then Worf says, a human and a Janai, impossible. And so Data, of course, in a visor, love Data in the visor, goes, also, I think this is like Data's only line in this episode or something. Data goes, why? And Troy says, good question. Worf? And then I love that Troy does not. She's just like, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, I will throw you under this bus so fucking hard. And then Worf says, with all these wild cards, it's difficult to know what is exactly in my hand. However, will I open with 50? What the fuck did I write?
He's like, it's hard to know what's in my hand. Never know. However, I will open with 50. So there's like a pause. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what the fuck, Worf? Christ. Okay. We'll go through the description and then we'll come back to this because there's thoughts. Okay, so now so the plan is to beam the Janai crew from this missing shuttle into the Enterprise shuttle, and then they'll transport them back to the Enterprise. Which now, just in retrospect, I'm thinking, what the fuck did they do with that other shuttle then? They just let it explode?
Probably, yeah.
Huh. Okay, well, rip to that shuttle. Okay, so now Riker and Soren are on the ship. Soren is holding an electric toothbrush at the panel underneath the main control panel. Soren has something to say, though. And Soren decides to risk it all to tell Riker that he's hot. And that is a relatable...
Yeah.
a relatable choice. So Soren then says, occasionally... among my people, there are a few who are born different, who are throwbacks from the era when we all had gender. Some have strong inclinations to maleness, and some have urges to be female. I am of the latter. And Riker's like, yeah, I had a feeling you were different. We're like, really? Good for you, Riker. So, oh God, okay, what did I write? Okay, so with the Janai, the feelings like this is forbidden, and they are shamed and ridiculed, and they only by undergoing psychotactic. What the fuck did I write?
I think it's psychotactic or something like that.
Yeah, it's something very weird.
Psychotactic therapy and having all elements of gender eliminated, can they be accepted into society again? Great.
Yeah. Basically conversion therapy.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked. So Soren tells a story about a kid at school who identified as male and was bullied and beaten. And I'm like, well, great. I guess in every fucking planet and universe, kids can be bullies. And kids can always find something to pick on another child about. That's pretty messed up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the kid went through conversion therapy, and pardon me. Soren has had relationships in the past with people that identify as male. I don't know what else happens in this scene because my very next note is Geordi has a beard.
For one scene, Geordi has a beard.
Yeah.
I got all excited. I was like, oh, a new look?
Well, I think Soren basically lays out that, like, she has to keep this, like, super secret. Like, and that, like, it's a risk her telling him this and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so then they find the shuttle. They tried... Oh, okay. So Soren and Riker, they are able to find the other missing shuttle. They try to transport the other crew over. Fails the first time. They succeed the second time. And then they're able to get them back, everybody back to the Enterprise. So the Janai invite Picard and Riker to dinner on their planet. And Riker he sits outside, and he lost me here, because he was like, I was raised outdoors. I've never been very comfortable in crowded rooms. What?
Yeah, that seems like
what?
Not true.
Yeah, Riker, if anything, Riker like thrives on a crowd or something. He's like very charismatic. He fucking loves to perform.
Mm-hmm.
It's confusing. I don't know who wrote this episode, but have they met Riker? Because yeah, I have thoughts. Oh yeah, because Soren's like, oh, like having a nice time or something, or Riker went outside for whatever,
just to get some
like,
air
you must be
or
used to
whatever.
this.
Yeah.
And so then Soren's like, oh, do you like the planet? They're like, oh, the planet is beautiful. Look at all these plants. Want a tour? And yeah, Riker wants a tour. A tour of Soren's mouth.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, so they... I'm not wrong. So then they like get farther into the garden and they start kissing. And there is a wild like close-up. They just keep getting closer and closer to them. And I was like, okay, calm down. Jesus, we don't need to be in the mouth with them.
I mean, they're really going at it, though. It's like a it's like a
Jesus.
full open mouth kiss.
Like party, but like we're almost part of that kiss at this point.
Yeah.
Very close. I'm like, I feel like this should be left between them. We shouldn't. I don't think they asked for a third.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the ship. So the Enterprise is charting the null space, so they're staying in orbit of Janai. So this was fucking okay. It's not really weird, but like Troy starts taking shit out of a like, what's it called? Like a case?
Yeah, like a case or
trunk?
a trunk or yeah.
Yeah, and takes out a creepy doll, and apparently this stuff was like Troy's dad's ancestors stuff that like her mom sent over to her from Earth. And like, but why? This is all so fucking weird. Why do they have so many creepy things?
It is kind of a mom move of like, here's your old stuff, like you take it now. Like, okay.
So Troy, there's also a bunch of photos. And so Troy's like, I look at these faces and I wonder who they are and if they could be related to me. Troy, you said they are your dad's ancestors. So they are related to you.
Yeah.
So that mystery solved at the very least. And then Riker picks up this little teddy bear and says, well, this one looks like you. It's funny. All right, so then they talk and Riker came in the room. I do love their friendship. Riker's like, oh, is this gonna like, I'm into Soren, is that gonna like change our relationship? And Troy's like, well, yeah, of course, but like that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, shit just changes and like we'll always be good friends. They're like, great, like shall we kiss on the lips to like finalize that? And like friendship kiss, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a friendship kiss, but it is on the mouth.
Yeah, I'm like, I have never kissed a friend of mine on the mouth.
Yeah.
After like that I mean,
like it weirds me out, like those families that kiss each other on the mouth.
Oh
like,
yeah. Sorry to whoever's listening if they do that.
Yeah.
It's
listen,
don't
get
kiss your family on the mouth.
Yeah.
I
get that it's not sexual and whatever, and that it is platonic and whatever, but it still weirds me out.
It's weird. Yeah, no, I agree. So Riker goes to see Soren, and Krayt is like, sorry, we're putting a stop to this. Soren is in custody. And then we cut to a fucking trial that's already happening, and Riker busts in and is like, I pursue Soren. It's my fault. Soren rejected me and educated me. That's it. We're done. Not Soren's fault. My fault. I take the blame. Bye. And then Soren stands up and does like a really impassioned speech. At one point though, like Soren gets up and like walks around the table, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be good. Because whenever someone walks around from the table, you know, oh, shit's about to go down.
When they need wander in space.
Yeah. They're about to monologue like no one's ever seen. I did actually write down the whole monologue. I didn't know if like it would be. I just figured like it's kind of it's interesting.
Yeah, it's a standard like because I guess we haven't said, but like this whole episode is supposed to be a gay allegory. Like
yeah, I was gonna bring that up earlier, but I wanted Dory to finish it because obviously the what do you call it? The very modern discussion about trans folk comes up a lot regarding this episode, despite the fact that the episode is not about that at all.
Yeah,
but there is a lot of unintended allegory to it. But this this big spiel that Soren has in the kind of like hearing room, courtroom, whatever it is, it really does eliminate any idea that it could be a trans allegory. It is 100% about homosexuality.
What I was gonna say is that like the reason I explained that is because I was just gonna give the gist, which is it's basically your standard like, you know, we're no different from you speech, in that like, you know, we're just, you know, people in love and our love lives are the same as yours and that sort of thing.
I do find it frustrating that the allegory is an allegory for like personal gender identity.
Yeah.
And she makes an impassioned speech that is not about personal identity at all. It's about romantic attachment.
Yeah, that's once we get into background corner, this episode was fucked with a lot.
I'm aware.
I figured
have much to say.
Yeah, I figured you were going to bring that up, but we won't get into it right now.
Yeah, the recap's almost done.
Yeah.
So yeah, a big impassioned speech, and then the judge, who I think his name is Nor.
Something like that. She's in another Trek episode later on as a more interesting character, but yeah.
So like throughout this speech, Nora's like honestly looking like it's got like a compassionate look on their face, and I was like, oh wow, this might actually make like a point and go somewhere.
Yeah, like maybe she's getting through to them.
Yeah, I was actually shocked because then Nora goes, I congratulate you, Soren. Your decision to admit your perversion makes it much more likely that we can help you. And I was like, well, fuck me. I did not see that coming. That they just, that look on their face was for something, but not this.
I would like to point out that something this episode does really well, especially in that scene, is it takes the bigotry of the people who are opposed to this and it humanizes it. It's not about hatred for them. It's not about disgust for them. They genuinely think that these are people seeking out gender who have a problem and that they need to be helped. And it really is coming from the best of intentions, and I think that Star Trek does a very good job when it does approach these kinds of subjects of opening it up so that things can be viewed from both sides of the spectrum. Obviously, we know what the objectively correct side is, and that is that people deserve to live the lives that they want to live. However, it is interesting to see it be portrayed in such a way that the other side is not being villainous like we see in as much of in how obvious political obfuscation is today. There are genuinely just people who feel, no, this is really sad for you. I want to help you. Because there are people like that, and it is the reasonable side of the bigotry argument. And like, how do you argue with people like that?
Yeah,
you put tape on their mouth and tell them to go away.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. It is an interesting point that like there are people that like legitimately feel like that being gay or trans or something is a mental illness. Like they genuinely believe that, and they're like, you know, this is something that we have to fix.
Yes.
But it's one of those things where, like, that sort of genuine concern is born out of hatred. It's born out of hatred and or ignorance. Of just being like, not understanding that it's like, no, there's nothing actually wrong with it. Like, it's not a mental illness.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it is hard to argue with that. Like when someone thinks it's like genuinely like, no, like you, like there's something wrong with you. You know, we have to help you. How do you argue with it? Like that it's like, no, I don't actually need help. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, to them, they view it as like an alcoholic being like, I don't need to quit drinking. You know, that's how they view it as.
Yep.
And it's like, it's kind of hard to counter that argument.
Wow. Those people are wrong.
Yep. Very wrong.
I have a hard time, like, getting over to, like, you guys articulated yourselves very well on that. I can't. I just get angry.
Yeah.
At those people.
Oh, believe me, like, when I'm actually faced with that, I also get very angry. And it's like, no, you're just fucking wrong. There's nothing wrong with us.
I find those are the people that it's easier to get through to in terms of a conversation, because they are genuine in their feeling. And the thing is that the majority of people that you'll have a discussion about something like this with on the internet are not people who are approaching it with that kind of good faith.
Yeah.
They're approaching it because they want to win in an argument against their political rival. That is the majority of people who engage in arguments on the internet in general.
Yeah.
And it's almost heartwarming to see somebody out there who genuinely just does want to help people, but they see things differently. And the thing is that you can change somebody's mind when it's just that the basis for their thought process on it is skewed in a different way, because their moral viewpoint of it is from a different baseline.
Yeah.
Because people like that are often more willing to think about things in somebody else's shoes, as opposed to somebody who is just there to argue to win an argument. They just want to show you, no, I'm right.
Yeah. And there's people that, like, can't look past their own disgust.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Very good point.
Yeah. That is, like, because I think the solution to a lot of these problems, like, does come from, like, empathy and stuff, and, like, trying to meet people where they're at. But also sometimes it's just like, fuck you. Like, you're just wrong.
Yeah.
And
That's fair.
Yeah. And, like, I'm not...
Okay, let me just finish. We're so close.
Yeah.
Cool.
To the end. So then Riker offers to take Soren back to the Enterprise for asylum. But Nora is like, Commander, you must think that we are a cruel, repressive people. And I'm like, yes. And they said, then Nora says, nothing could be further from the truth, okay? And I'm like, you're barking up the wrong tree. So then, they have a high success rate of treating deviants like her. They become happier people and grateful that they care enough to cure them. In this world, everyone wants to be normal. And then Riker is like, she is! So they're like, we're going to take Soren to start treatment tomorrow. And then Riker does kind of my dream exit. He just, like, steps away, goes one to transport, and disappears.
Yeah.
That's like that's my dream exit. I want to disappear into, like, just gone. So Riker goes to Picard, and Picard's like, I can talk to Nor, and but like also interfering is against the Prime Directive. I'm like, really love to pick and choose when the Prime Directive comes into play. But
Yeah, I was going to
Riker
say the
is-
Prime Directive is supposed to be for underdeveloped species.
Yeah. So Riker is pretty pissed. So then Riker's in his room. Worf comes by to has the plan for deploying warning buoys around the null space.
Did you just say warning boys?
Buoys?
Yes.
Buoys.
Warning boys.
Yeah, warning buoys. It's just like, those inflatable things that go in front of like car dealerships and banks and shit.
Oh, wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube men. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those are my favorites. Those are truly in like my top 10 favorite things ever. That's in my top 10.
Yeah.
I actually have a miniature. I love it so much.
Does it flop around?
It doesn't work very well,
Aw.
but it kind of just like you have to like hit it a little bit and it'll go straight up, and then you have to sort of flick it and then it falls right down and collapses.
Oh.
It's not great, but it gives me like a minute or two of entertainment. But
That's awesome.
yeah. What was my point there? Oh yeah, so they I just like the idea of those inflatable guys that they set up around the like null space to be like, don't go here, don't go here. Their arms flailing about. So okay. I also had completely forgotten about this null space stuff at this point.
Yeah.
And then I wrote Worf leaves a first generation iPad for Riker. It's so big. So Worf asks if Riker is, by any chance considering an unannounced visit to the planet. It's like, Jesus, calm down, Worf. He's like salivating. Like
It
wants
does
to go
come
down
out of
so
nowhere,
bad.
too.
Yeah. But I do love that
Worf is Team Riker.
Yeah, this is another Worf being Team Riker moment.
He's always Team Riker. And he's like, listen, I volunteered to go with you. He's like, you are my superior, so if you say no, I'll listen. But like, I'm down to go down and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And or YOLO apparently. And so Worf says, a warrior does not let a friend face danger alone. Okay, so then they do go down to the planet. They go back to where the little gardeny area where Riker initially told Soren that he spent a lot of time outdoors. Mm-hmm. And so then they see there's like a lot of people close by, and they are not subtle.
No.
They're kind of rolling around, and they're like, listen, they would not be good spies.
No.
Well, we know they're not good spies, but anyways, so then also Riker is in his super subtle
His sneak
blue
around
shirt.
clothes, yeah.
yeah, he's in his casual wear. Okay, so then like a bunch of people are coming out, and there's guards with Soren. So Worf and Riker attack them. Riker gets Soren alone and is like, oh no, this makes me nervous. I'm like, oh, okay, either the therapy has already happened or Soren is trying to spare Riker. Never mind. Soren is pretty convinced he was wrong, so I guess they started the treatment early, perhaps. And so Riker was like, Soren is like, no, listen, this is my bad. I think you should go. I'm fine where I am. It's whatever. And then Riker says that he loves her, and I, again, do believe that.
Yeah.
It felt
Yeah,
like
that
a
was a
very
little
weird
fast,
last-ditch.
People seem to fall in love
effort.
very quickly on Star Trek.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt really hollow and weird.
Yeah.
So, Riker then leaves with Worf, and then we cut to the bridge, and Picard's like, oh, hey, Riker, we got another assignment, but I didn't really, tell them when we will be there, because we were just waiting for you. We good to go? And Riker's like, yep, I'm fucking done. And then they do a close-up on his pretty eyes.
Mm-hmm. It's very sad, pretty eyes.
Yeah. I don't like how they wrote Riker this episode. There's a lot of uncharacteristic lines and...
Yeah, I see what they were...
with that.
Sorry?
I also don't like how they wrote Worf.
Yeah, I don't. I like what they were going for with Riker, like, but I don't think they did what they were trying to do.
So,
if you get what I mean.
Let's enter background corner.
Yeah.
Obviously, this was an episode that was an allegory for homosexuality in the early 1990s, which was not an uncontroversial time to do it. It was a pretty controversial time. Things to remember about what was going on with homosexuality in the political sphere at the time. It was not legal in any country on Earth to have a homosexual marriage at all.
Same-sex marriage.
That's right. It was not... what do you call it? It was not legal to have a same-sex relationship in many parts of the United States where anti-sodomy laws were still quite heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And what this episode ended up doing, Jerry Taylor is the one who wrote the what's it called? Wrote the teleplay for it, and was like, she practically jumped at the chance to do it. She's like, oh, controversy, bring it on.
Mm-hmm.
Her approach to it was essentially, I can make everyone seem reasonable in this to an extent. And as we already discussed, I think she kind of succeeded at that. Obviously, there is one side that is clearly portrayed as incorrect, and the episode does take a side there, and that's all well and good. I agree with that. But at the same time, it doesn't show anybody as being bigoted for the sake of being bigoted. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where Jerry Taylor really succeeded here, in not villainizing the opposing side. Because that's something that's very easy to do in a position like this. It's even more easy to do nowadays when, the villains are so much more obvious in our society because they really don't do anything to hide what they're doing, and media moves so quickly. It is so easy to find out information, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, because being anti-gay is a much more fringe belief nowadays.
Yes. Yes, and it didn't take that long.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean the attitude is necessarily rare.
No.
But it's a lot more difficult to be openly homophobic now.
Yes. Openly being the key word there, I think.
Yeah.
Except if you're the York Region Catholic District School Board.
Yeah. Yeah. But... back in the 90s, there would be a lot more people that were on their side.
Yes.
There's less now, at least.
So, Michael Piller was quite happy to have this episode get done. Michael Piller was show running at the time. Piller, the way that he looked at it was that something that Gene Roddenberry had stated offhand many times when he was still alive was that he wanted to address the gay issue in Star Trek by, having two men hold hands or other such things in the series. He thought that would be a real nice nod. He didn't have any particular, personal passion about it, but he got a lot of mail about it, and he was like, no, that would be nice. It would be good to pay lip service to these people at least, to show that this is something that we support. And what Michael Piller said is, no, that's not enough. We have to address it. We have to openly come out and state what we want to say about it. Mm-hmm. And I really respect that. Obviously, it is not something that they went far enough in, because in the end, Gene's approach, while it might have been seen as pandering to an extent, would have shown a lot more acceptance if it was done over a long period of time.
Yeah.
That is not something that this episode succeeded at. There was no long period of a same-sex relationship ever shown on Star Trek. It was something that the head producer, Rick Berman, was reportedly quite against.
Yeah. And also, this episode, if... like, I don't know if he's referring to this episode specifically in its final iteration, but addressing things openly is, like, not what I would describe this episode as.
No, the episode I don't think succeeds at that very well.
No.
Now, in the context of the time period, I think it would be quite obvious what it's about.
Oh, yeah, it's obvious what it's about, but it's... and
I'd say it does obviously take a side. Oh,
yes, yeah. I just think that... I don't think this is addressing it directly. Like,
okay.
It's obvious what it is, but it's like... I'm not sure how to...
Directly isn't the word. What Michael Piller said was just having them hold hands is not enough. Now, for the record, this wouldn't have been the first time that Star Trek dealt with same-sex relationships if the mythical Star Trek Phase 2 in the 1970s ended up getting made. Mm-hmm. There was a script called Blood and Fire, which had been passed around the writer's room for a very long time within Star Trek and never actually made it to screen until a fan series ended up adapting it to to the original series storyline. That was about 15 years ago, I think, maybe 10. Mm-hmm. And it's a good episode, but it is centered around two characters who are in a homosexual relationship. Mm-hmm. It isn't about that. It's just centered around those characters.
Yeah. And is that it for background on this episode, or?
For the most part, it seems like there isn't a lot of, like, stress into, into, like, what was going on behind the scenes. They all felt that they were doing the right thing in making this episode. They wanted to... I don't think, personally, that Gene Roddenberry would have made a same-sex relationship episode, like an episode about it, if he were in charge. Mm-hmm. But I do really respect that Michael Piller, at the very least, said, no, if this is a topic that we're going to go about saying anything about, then we're going to say something. We're not just going to let it be a background thing.
Yeah, because, I mean, they've made episodes about every other topic, so...
Yeah, I don't think this was a good allegory, I think, the episode's main failing. Riker falling in love was probably the right move to go about it. Actually, okay, no, one more piece of background corner thing here that people who are familiar with this will be surprised I didn't bring up earlier.
Yeah, this is the bit I was waiting for.
So... There was some casting decisions that they had to make about this episode, and ultimately they decided to cast all of the Janai as women who were playing androgynous characters. And that is something that Jonathan Frakes vehemently disagreed with. He thought, no, in order to make this episode what it's supposed to be about, we should be casting men. And reportedly what Rick Berman said about it is... I don't think that people are going to want to tune in to TV where they get to watch two men making out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Jonathan Frakes said gay rights.
Yeah.
Not only did Jonathan Frakes say gay rights, he said gay rights, and I want to be the person there to show it.
Yeah, because reportedly he's like, listen, I'm willing to kiss a male actor. Like, that's right. For this episode. Like, I have no problem with that. And also, now, Rick Berman was very wrong because...
We also don't know if that's what happened.
Yeah. No, but
we know we know that what Jonathan Frakes said. We have no idea what Rick Berman actually said, aside from this anecdote which has gone around.
Yeah. But, like, let's... For the moment, let's assume that's true.
Okay.
If he said, like, I don't think people want to, like, tune into TV to see two guys making out. Oh, how wrong you are.
Yeah.
How very, very wrong you are. Dude, like, my current fandom right now is a show where two middle-aged comedians from New Zealand kiss. Like, and it's, like, the biggest thing ever.
It's such a good show.
Yeah. Our Flag Means Death, by the way, for those who don't know. It's a great show. It's very funny and lots of queer representation. So yeah, it's just like, oh, how painfully wrong
The
you are.
turntables have turntables.
Yeah. How the turns
As
have
the
tables.
turntables.
Yeah, it's like, and if I remember correctly, because a person we've mentioned before, SF Debris, who does Star Trek episode reviews, he did a review on this episode, and I remember him. I don't remember like exactly like all the details, but I seem to remember him saying that there was a lot of interference in the writing of this episode as well, where the original version of the script was like a lot better, and like that there was all kinds of different changes and stuff that happened that kind of made it a shadow of its former self.
I could see that. I know that there are some other potentially meaningful episodes that have that issue. I don't remember if this is one of them. I didn't watch the SF Debris episode on it recently, and I didn't really find any information in my background research that came up about it. But this episode, in terms of like background info, seems pretty unremarkable. Like there just isn't a lot of talk about it, and it could be because it just didn't make the waves that they wanted it to make.
Yeah,
especially not as much as other episodes, even in the same season, will end up doing later.
Yeah, because I think it like number one, it's a very meh episode.
Yeah.
In my opinion, and number two, I think it's a topic that at the time people were not as inclined to discuss.
Very true.
I think it's just like,
I mean, it's
like homosexuality. That's weird. Let's just avoid that.
It's important to keep in mind that as progressive as Star Trek is, in terms of both the values that it espouses in the writing, but also the general view that people have of the show, a lot of that reputation in terms of like it being groundbreaking doesn't come from TNG, and it doesn't come from DS9, and it doesn't come from Voyager, it doesn't come from Enterprise. It came from the original series.
Yeah.
Because in the original series, that's where they were really dealing with issues that were really controversial at the time.
That's where they were kind of like actually taking risks.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's Star Trek is quite infamous for having supposedly the first interracial kiss on television. That's been debated, but if it wasn't the first one, then it was at least the first infamous one.
It was the first one in North America, I believe.
Okay, that could be it.
It was the first one in American television.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, either way, that was Star Trek's biggest claim to fame in terms of like progressive values shown on screen for a very long time. Now, admittedly, the actual scene that it happens in is pretty problematic because
they're forced
the characters
to kiss
are
each
not
other
under their own influence.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a problem. But at the same time, it was a moment that happened on screen that was really, what's important about it is not what is happening between these two characters. It is what's happening between these two actors and what is being shown.
Yeah.
And that's what's important. TNG, as successful as it was and as positively as we will talk about the writing, does not ever hit that particular moment of infamy.
No, yeah. Because it has a lot of good episodes that, like, have interesting discussions and good storytelling and good writing and that sort of thing. But yeah, it never took, like, a big social risk.
That's right.
Because, like, that, it doesn't seem like a big deal, like, that interracial kiss or, like, having, you know, a Japanese man piloting and a black woman, you know, in a respected position and all that stuff. But it, like, was very much a big deal, like, when Star Trek was originally a thing, like, during the era of the original series. But yeah, like, TNG never took the kind of social risk that the original series did.
No, not at all. Mm-hmm. Hi, Dory. Sorry, we're completely drowning you out, and you don't have much to contribute at this point.
No, that's okay. I'm listening.
Yeah.
I think in the end, this episode's two major failings, one being the fact that its allegory is not a particularly good one, and the other is that the episode is really, really muddled by something that, Dory, I think you probably noticed a lot of this. There is so much fucking technobabble in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I know what the fuck was happening half the time.
Fake science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, it's one of the thing that makes this episode interesting now is watching it with the current political climate and, like, more social consciousness of transness and trans issues and stuff, and like just more social consciousness of the concept of being trans and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's also a thing that annoys me sometimes when people are doing allegories where they just do a straight up like reverse. Like, what if being straight was illegal? And like,
oh my god. Okay, can I just like interject real quick here? Mm-hmm. I pulled this up because I knew somehow this would come up.
Yeah.
There is a movie. Me and my brother have been planning to watch this. I found it like 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. It is a movie called where is it? Oh, I just had it up. All You Need Is Love. Oh, no, sorry. Love Is All You Need? Question mark. And I'd like to read the Prejudice, Human Rights, Bullying, Romeo and Juliet meets Crash meets Requiem for a Dream with a twist. The twist is that being straight is like they basically just switched it around, like how dare you be straight?
Yeah.
And everybody must be in same-sex relationships, and something's wrong with you if you're in a heterosexual relationship. I'm like, who asked for this?
Yeah.
Who asked for this? Why are you trying to, like, put this... I don't understand the point of this movie.
Yeah.
It sounds very stupid. Because, like, I don't understand if the point is supposed to be, like, but what if it was straight? Or, like, hey, maybe have some, like, compassion and, like, I can't tell if this is, like, an ally movie.
Yeah,
or
if it's pro or anti-gay.
Yeah, I can't tell. I cannot tell what the, like, vibe is for this movie. I keep meaning to watch it, but, like, so it might be, like, being like, look, if it was turned the other way around, or it might be like, look, straight people are oppressed.
Yeah.
I don't know, but this is, yeah.
Yeah, because
I saw this is a movie that
could
comes
go
up
either
somehow.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, so that just made me think of that. Well, I knew somehow it would come up.
Yeah.
That I would bring it up at some point. But
it's funny. It's funny that you say that, because the other thing I was going to say about this episode is that, like, in the current political climate, this episode can have a very, like, right-wing message, because I feel like this is what, like a lot of right-wing people believe that left-wing people want. We want that we quote-unquote want a society where being not transgender is illegal.
Yeah.
Man, people need to, like, touch grass. Holy shit. All this is, like, nothing to do with, like, any of these people who are, like, so against this shit. Like, go outside. Like
basically this episode is this is the future liberals want.
Good. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Well, not this episode, but
it's illegal to be straight and not non-binary.
Yeah, oh Christ. Okay, can we talk about Worf?
Sure.
Yep.
What the fuck was Worf this episode?
Yeah.
Weird.
I like that he was like, yes, Riker, let's, like, go break into this planet.
Yeah, but that came out of nowhere.
Kidnap a person. But, like, what the... Worf has been consistently, like... recently, like, he's been pretty, like, you know... I don't want to say feminist king, but...
Yeah.
we'll say feminist, like, baron?
Yeah.
Feminist viscount or something. He's been pretty decent. He's been pretty good. He's always, like, I remember he was always like, Kalar is, like, so cool. Mm-hmm. I remember in the episode, I think it's the one where that teenager takes over Picard's room.
Oh, yeah.
Don't ask me what it's called or what this kid's name is. But, like, I remember Worf, like, defending, like, saying that, like, Dr. C was, like, the smartest person or something. Mm-hmm. And he was, because that kid was, like, being sexist. And Worf was like, no. You're very wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's like, you listen to a woman? Yeah. And he's like, yes, I do. She's my superior. And she's very smart or something like that.
Yeah, women are just as capable as males and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So, like, this to me, look, and we've gone through, like, such a good, like, recently, some, like, real character development with Worf. Mm-hmm. So this felt like such a weird, like, kick to the stomach.
Yeah.
Because this is not, like, yeah, Worf has his issues, but from where we are in, like, the show, this feels very backwards. This does not feel like Worf.
Yeah.
To be like, women are weak. No. And also he's saying this in front of Troy, who literally, like, an episode or two ago, he was like, take care of my child. I don't trust anybody other than you to take care of Alexander if I die. Like, would he do that if he thought she was weak or thought women, like...
Yeah.
He was also so close with his mom. Like, it doesn't make any sense. This feels very out of, like, nowhere.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like, whenever they need someone to have, like, sort of a less progressive...
bad take?
Yeah, whenever they need to have someone with a bad take or, like, a less progressive attitude, it falls on Worf, usually, if they need it to be, like, the main cast.
And it really sucks, because that's, like, not Worf at this point.
Yeah, it's very out of character for him.
I'm not sure if this was Worf ever.
Yeah. No.
So it really sucks. I hate that.
Yeah. I really, really dislike that they did that to Worf this episode.
They did my Worf dirty.
Yeah, and also because he's like...
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then they also... Where is it? Oh, because then when he was like, a human engine, I am possible. And they're like, why, Worf? And he's like, look at my cards. I bet 50.
Yeah.
And, like, this also... That like, why... What was the point of that? Like, just to make Worf seem like fucking bigot or something? Why?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's basically it. They wanted to make him seem less progressive.
Well, it was bad. I don't like it.
Yeah.
How dare all of them? It was dumb. It was a bad decision. Like, I don't necessarily agree with everything Worf says, obviously, but, like, I don't even agree this is Worf. This is not Worf.
Yeah.
I refuse to believe this is Worf.
Yeah, especially the comment of, like, here's the thing. I could maybe see Worf being, like, weirded out by a species that doesn't have gender. But, like, the comment, he's like, oh, this is a woman's game because women need more help. No. Like, that is not Worf. Worf doesn't act like that. That's not how he thinks.
Yeah, he's also playing with two women that he greatly respects. So for him to be like, you want to do a weak game? It's a woman's game. Like,
it might be like season 1 Worf at best, but that's when they couldn't figure out what the fuck Worf was.
Yeah.
Worf was a cool dude. No, not really a cool dude. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I did not like that. I was frustrated. My notes are just, what the fuck, Worf? Or Jesus fucking Christ, Worf.
Yeah.
How could you do this to me? And I have little Worf sitting on my desk staring at me. And I'm like, Worf, don't even look at me right now. I'm upset with you.
Yeah.
God, my computer is now blocking little Worf right now. I can't even look at him.
You need to think about what you did, little Worf.
Yeah. You can look at the back of my laptop in the meantime.
All right. It's hard to talk about this episode because I think the allegory fails a lot. Yeah, a lot of the issues and stuff, it's like, it's not that they've gone away. In fact, like, some of them are resurging. Like, there's a resurgence of, like, open homophobia and stuff like that, and like trying to take away more like queer rights, especially trans rights. But it's just a discussion that feels like that we've solved. Almost not solved, but like it's like this is a conversation that we're so beyond at this point.
It's been addressed.
Yeah, it's been addressed. And I feel like the attitudes that they're talking about in this episode are, I don't know, less common. Because I feel like, especially with the current political climate, the people that are just genuinely like, no, this is a problem that people have is like less so. I feel like, I don't know. I'm not doing a good job explaining myself in this.
I get what you mean, though.
Because I don't want to imply that it's like, oh, we don't have to worry about homophobia anymore. Because the exact opposite is true. It's just like the kind of deal it was in the 90s is like,
no,
just we're not at the same place anymore.
It's not taboo anymore.
Yeah, it's not taboo anymore. Like,
we can talk about it openly.
Yeah, because I think this was like, because in the 90s is when it started to change. When it was like, you could have a lot more open discussions, and TV shows were a lot more open to like having queer characters and like, or at least talking about them and stuff like that. You know, this was when the shift came, like when queer characters like started shifting from like being the villain of the episode to actually like human beings that we talked about like they were human. This is even though this episode wasn't meant for it, it is interesting to look at from a specifically trans perspective, though, of like, because I think where we were at with like homosexuality now is like where we were at with homosexuality then is kind of where we're at with transness now, in terms of like this big cultural shift happening. And even though it's not like taboo to talk about it per se, it's a very like volatile issue at the moment. And there are people that like want to eradicate trans people and want to like quote unquote fix them or think that it's a mental illness and that sort of thing. So it's interesting to look at it that way, but then it has the problem of like, oh, it's just a reverse Uno on the allegory. It's just a reverse Uno on like what the attitude is, which is like not very, I find it's not very helpful because it really centers the oppressor in that situation, you know.
And they win.
Yeah. And yeah, that's one of the things I don't like about the episode, the ending, is that the conversion therapy they have works. In that it does seem to actually cure, quote unquote, cure them.
Yeah, but the argument is that it takes something away from them too.
Yeah, but it's like, I feel like if they were going to make this allegory, maybe the writers didn't realize this at the time, but if they were going to make this allegory, I feel like they should have been true to the actual horrors of conversion therapy, because first of all, conversion therapy does not work. There's like mountains upon mountains upon mountains of evidence that it doesn't work. So the true tragedy of conversion therapy isn't that it's taking away this part of your identity. It's that it's like causing extreme psychological damage. And like, it's not that like, oh, now you're straight and like something unique has been taken away from you. It's that like your mental and sometimes physical like life have been permanently altered. the amount of like psychological damage that conversion therapy does is like truly horrific. Like, I was listening to this one person speaking, like they were doing like a, like sort of a presentation and like, presentation about like how horrible conversion therapy is and that like their experience going through it. And they say that like they basically feel physical pain when like they hug someone because of the things they did to them. Because they
fucking terrible.
Yeah, they did like these sort of negative reinforcement things with like, you know, affection and stuff like that. I don't remember the specific details, but yeah, like he said he's okay to hug people when it's like on his like terms, and it still is like, you know, painful for him, but it's like at least like he's the one, like he can deal with it if it's like his decision, right? So like there's all sorts of stories like that where, you know, they like there's like stories of electroshock therapy, there's stories of like you know, being forced to watch like straight porn and that stuff, or like watching like gay porn and receiving like, you know, physical punishment while doing so. And there's also just the purely like psychological damage of like trying to push that part of you down and like pretending something that you're not and all that stuff. Like just like it's torture. It's like literal torture, like some of these methods and like just the process. So it's just like I know the point they were trying to make with like being like, oh, they've taken this unique part away from them and like isn't that horrible? But it just
it's so much more.
There's so much to conversion therapy than that.
I didn't pipe up earlier because I thought that what you said needed to be said, and that's important. But there's something in terms of the context of when this was written that really needs to be taken into account, and that is that the primary argument for and against homosexuality had nothing to do with things like conversion therapy and whatnot. It centered around the idea of being gay as a choice. And I mean, it obviously doesn't matter whether somebody was born with it or if it's choice. That's like an obfuscating argument to begin with. But the prevailing attitude was that it was not something that you were born with. It was something that could be taught and could be untaught. And even people in the homosexuality, in the homosexual community did not necessarily 100% disagree with that. Like there wasn't a lot of prevailing public research being done on it at the time. Obviously, this is all stuff that we knew 100 years ago and was destroyed under Nazism and was destroyed under Stalinism. When we had progressive ideals about these sorts of things, that was all repressed, and having to essentially start from scratch. The argument always comes down to, well, this is a choice. That is 100% where it always starts. And that's something that happens a lot with the trans debate now, where it's always about like, oh, well, what if these people change their mind? As if it was something that they weren't born with. And if you argue about it as a choice, then it's much more reasonable for you to argue that it's the wrong choice. And that's what they were going for here, that there is a choice that can be made, and there is an incorrect one that has been made for this society.
Yeah.
I saw a tweet a while ago that said, you know that sexual orientation is not a choice because who would choose to be with men?
Yeah.
I love that.
Choose to like
I've
men.
seen that go around a lot. I like it.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's, yeah.
I totally understand, Jeff, where you're coming from, that like, yeah, in the context of the time, it makes sense and that sort of thing. But just knowing what I know and all that stuff, it hits me the wrong way. Like that it's like, oh,
hindsight is 20/23.
Yeah. That like, oh, they have a cure for it, and that just and the episode doesn't comment on that, and it just is like, it doesn't give me a good feeling, basically. And I know that like they were going for something else, but it's just, yeah.
Yep.
I think I think you put the finger on like what feels irrelevant about this episode to me now, is that a lot less people think that being gay is a choice now. Like, that was sort of, I think, the...
Well, that was where the discussion point started from against it.
Yeah, it was kind of like the prominent attitude at the time, I think, was that...
Yes, it was.
Or at least, like, that was, like... At least... it was towards the end of that era where that was, like, the prominent attitude, where it was like, oh, being gay is a choice, and, like, these people are just being weird.
It wasn't actually until the later 1990s that that things started to swing in the other direction.
Yeah.
That it was more established as no, we are born this way.
Yeah. Which is, like, there's a lot of nuance to that point as well, because, like, like, the queer community has used that point to sort of gain acceptance and stuff like that, and it is true, but, like, it's not always true. It's very hard to describe, because sexuality and identity and all that stuff are so complex, and it's also been shown that your sexuality can actually change as you age. Like, there are some people that just, like their sexuality develops into something different over the years.
Mm-hmm.
So...
But that's less a choice and more of a realization about oneself, I would say.
Yeah. The born this way thing is essentially true, but there is nuance to it.
Yes, there is. As there is
with
just about anything regarding humans in society. We live in a society.
Yeah, exactly. Because this is like one of the problems with like the like people who like try to say like being trans is unnatural and all that shit, is that like they're using elementary school biology to try to explain the world, where it's like, no, if you actually like look into advanced biology and all that stuff, like there aren't two genders, there aren't only two like chromosome combinations. Like there's lots of complicated shit in biology, and even sex itself is like not like in terms of like someone's biological sex, not the act. Mm-hmm. Even sex itself is like not purely black and white. There's a lot of like in between and stuff. So it's like I just, it's people using like very simplistic views to try to justify their bigotry.
Yeah. That said, I think we have probably beaten this dead horse now.
Yep.
Because we have been on it for a while.
You can go on and on and on. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. I just looked at the record time. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
I really want to go have some broth.
Yeah, sorry. So let's move on to favorite moments.
I don't know if I even have one. I don't know. I'm looking through Riker's like reactions, like his facial expressions in this episode are pretty funny.
Yeah.
I like that they really thought we were going to believe that Kyle made pea soup at one point. I refuse to believe that.
I'm pretty sure Jerry Taylor's the one who wrote Kyle Riker too, so that's pretty annoying.
Yeah.
Kyle Riker sucks. Yeah, I don't really love this episode.
Yeah. It's not great. This is always a skip for me.
Yeah, same. I think it's important in Star Trek's history even to show them like fumbling the ball in this particular case, because they clearly wanted to make a statement and just did not do a good job of it. And I think it's even more interesting how the episode's meaning has evolved over time. To really end up being an allegory for something else in a lot of ways, without any intention behind it whatsoever. And I like the episode more as a time capsule than as a entertaining 45 minutes of television.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually didn't mind the way they wrote Riker in this episode. Because I liked his flirting. Like, I thought it was very sweet. I thought the things he said about, like, what kind of woman he liked were very cute.
I felt like he went...
Yeah, because he's like, I like a strong, intelligent woman that, like, laughs at my jokes. You know.
I felt like he went from 0 to 100 very fast, though, and I think they could have gotten around that by not having as much technobabble as they did, having some other excuse to deal with this particular society. Because the B plot was fairly worthless, all things considered. I had mostly forgotten about it by the time that they were getting around to resolving it, and that was kind of amusing.
Me too.
Yeah.
Oh, I liked the one quick scene where Geordi had a beard.
Yeah.
Yes, I was going to say, that's my favorite scene. There is a little bit of background about that. Apparently, he showed up to set in the beard and was just like, hey, I kind of want to try this out. And we're like, apparently they said, okay, you can try it out for one scene. And that was it. That was the scene they gave him and nothing else.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Yep.
It looked great.
Coincidentally, the same thing actually happened with Jonathan Frakes when he showed up in season 2 with a beard, and they were just like, no, keep it.
Yeah.
That's good.
I also liked the scene where Riker takes the blame and how he explains everything. And he was like, he was gonna like fully get in trouble like for himself, because he's like, I acted inappropriately because I was attracted to them, and I pushed it, and then they explained how things were and rejected me. Mm-hmm. I thought that was cool. I did, in the context, keeping in mind the context of the time, I thought that the speech that she made was really good. I could see it being like a big deal and impactful for a queer person in that era. Mm-hmm. But like nowadays it's like, it doesn't hold the same kind of effect that it did, like when surrounded by this episode, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Time for predictions. Predictions are a little different this week because of schedule clashes and just some basically complicated scheduling. We had to watch 2 episodes in prep without recording, because we usually record 1 episode and don't watch the next one till we've recorded that episode because of predictions. So this time around, we had to watch 2 episodes without recording in between. So I gave Dory a clue, and then she recorded her prediction on her own. But for your guys' sake, I will tell you what I told Dory. That the next episode is called Cause and Effect. And in this episode, the crew experience an extreme case of deja vu. So, with that, I will jump to Dory's recording now.
Okay, this is prediction for cause and effect. Okay, so it's deja vu, something we've seen before. So, okay, and also with deja vu, my guess is they're stuck in a loop, but maybe it's a mystery of I want to say conspiracy, but what if they know someone has done something bad, but they're stuck in the loop of trying to figure it out over and over and over again. Yes, so the short version is time loop trying to figure out who the villain or someone's been giving leaking information to, I don't know, maybe the Romulans or something. Yeah, and we're just stuck in a loop of them trying to figure it out, and they can't figure it out. But then they figure it out, and then it starts over. It's the worst Groundhog Day.
So that was Dory's prediction. If you want to see if she's correct, join us next time for another episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.